So hello everyone, in this video we will be talking about arrays in JavaScript. So I have index.html, have just written learning arrays, and I also have app.js, which is again a JavaScript file. So I have it as app.js, and here I have console.logged.js arrays. I have this open, and you can see that I've just consoled JS arrays. So first we will learn why do we need arrays. Let's imagine this scenario where we will have a lot of numbers or a lot of names or a lot of strings in general. So how can we create variables for those numbers or strings? So with the knowledge that we have currently, I would suggest like we will have one num1 and that would be equal to 10. You can ignore whatever is written in the bottom. Let me just comment it. I have just written it for examples. So let's say num1 10 const num2 that is also equal to 10, I guess. Then const num3 is equal to 40 and something like this. So this is how we create variables that consist of numbers, right? Now in this scenario, let's say I have to create 100 numbers or 1000 numbers or things like that. It would be very difficult for me to write it in this format. Also, same goes with the strings. If I have to create 100 strings, it's going to be difficult for the developer. That is thing number one. Second thing, it's going to consume more space. I have to write const, and then the second thing, it's not readable, right? Your entire file will be filled with a lot of syntaxes, a lot of declaration, function, variable definition. So it's going to be a problem. That is wherein we will have arrays. So simple definition of array is a collection of data which we write in between square brackets. So how can we declare this? So const, give it a name, just like how you give it to the variable. I am going to write arr, and then there are different ways. One of the easiest ways to actually write in square bracket, and you can fill in the data that you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let's go with a small example. And immediately I'm going to console.arr and I'm going to remove this console.log.js arrays, which doesn't make sense. If you go to the console, I'll have arrays. Okay, let me just zoom in and we just increase this so that we can see clearly. So I have array, which is nothing but square braces, and have 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3. You can ignore whatever is there on the left hand side. These are called as indexes, and we will be talking about this shortly. But I have all my elements that are there in between the square braces. That is important. Earlier, you could have seen that I did const num1 is equal to 1, const num2 is equal to something. So instead of declaring 4 different variables, I have it together. Also, the best thing about arrays is I can also add string in between this. So I can write dev.dos. I also can write true. I also can write false. I can write decimal. Most of the languages don't allow this. It will allow arrays which is of a single data type. So there is no constraint on this unless and until you're using TypeScript, which is out of scope. So I have array with 4 numbers and a string, 2 booleans, and a number again, but it's a floating point, 0.01. If I go back, I can see that it is the same thing. Now let's go back and see how to access these values and also how to rewrite the values and why is this array better than variables in general. Now coming to this, there are something called as indexes. Now array starts with 0 index. Array starts with 0 index. What is the meaning? Like if you see in the browser, if I expand this, you can see that my 0th place I have 1, first place I have 2, second place I have 3, and so on and so forth. So array is indexed base, 0 index base. That means my first element is present in the 0th index. Now how can I see that? I can just do arr of 0. Alright, so if I do console.log arr of 0, I can see 1. That is because in my 0th place, that is 0th index, I have 1. Similarly, this will have an index of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Okay, if I do arr, let me just do it over here, arr of 7, it is going to give me 1, which is 0th index, and 0.01, which is my last index. So what will be the length of the array? Length of the arrays will still be 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But total number of element will start from 0 to length minus 1, which is 8 minus 1, 7. So basically what I mean to say is my 0th index is 1 and last index is 7, equal to 7, and my length is equal to 8, right? So starting from 0 to length minus 1. If someone asks you what is the length of the array, you can tell them it is 8 starting from 0 to length minus 1. It's understood that it's going to be 8 minus 1 because the length of this array, this particular array, is 8. Let us learn how we can manipulate the array values or change or access the array values. So let me just create some space and let me just remove this. I don't think so this will make sense as of now. So as I said, array starts from 0th index and ends at the last one. Let's say I don't want 1, I want A at this first place. So what I can do is I can do array of 0 and that is going to be equal to A. So in the next line, if I console the array, it is going to be A. So you can see that 1 is replaced with array. So this tells us that array can be changed, the values of the array can be changed, and this is called as mutability of array. Mutable means the array can be changed. This is not the same with the string. We will learn about strings in the next video, but as of now, you can remember this as array can be changed at any point. So ARR of 7, which is the last index, I want to change it to last index. I can insert, it need not be single character, it can be a sentence too. So if I console.log, you can see that 7th index has a last index. Okay, so what if I write array of 9? 9 doesn't exist, right? So because we have 0 to 7, from 8 onwards we don't have anything. It's going to give us, okay, I did not console.log, my bad. So I can console.log that part, ARR of 9, and what will be the output? Output will be undefined because we don't have anything. Okay, right. So I hope this is clear, and this is quite simple to understand that array can be replaced and can be replaced easily if you know the index. If you don't know the index, it's going to be a little troublesome, but as of now, I think it's very clear that you can actually create array using this syntax. You can actually manipulate the array if you know the index. You can actually edit the particular part or particular index, and also if your index is not present in the array that we created, it is going to give us undefined. So let's talk about methods, which will be really useful. We will be talking about push, pop, shift, unshift, slice, and few more. Let's start with push. So push basically adds an element to the end, adds an element to the end of the existing array. So two things to be noted. Some of the methods gives you a value, or some of the methods can give you new array. Push is not something. Push actually manipulates the already existing array. So push, I'm from the push method, right? So as of now, I'm going to get the statement down, and you can see that if I use the push, what it's going to do, it's going to consider these and add one more element to the end. So if I do console.log, you can see that I have added I am from the push method. We similarly have unshift. Both are same. The only difference is unshift adds an element to the start of the existing array. So arr.unshift, and I'm going to give I am from the unshift method. My bad, not shift. Unshift method. We have shift method, but we'll talk about it right after this. So arr.unshift, I am from the unshift method. If I console this, it is going to give me I am from the unshift method. So push adds the element to the end of the array, and unshift adds the element to the beginning or the start of the array. So in the 0th index. What about the element in the 0th index? It's going to be pushed to the +1 index. So this is going to be 1 now, 2, 3, 4, and so on. I hope this is clear. Now, we spoke about two methods, how we can add array elements to the starting and to the end of the array. Now, is there any element or method, I'm sorry, not element, is there any method by which we can remove the beginning as well as the end. Let's talk about removing from the end. It is called as pop. Okay, and I did not pass anything. Okay, I did not pass anything. I'll just do err.pop and let me console. There's something that interesting that you have to notice, that the end of the array will now have I am from the push method and I have popped it, right? So pop, I'll just write for your reference, pop is going to remove the element from the last index. Okay, I've consoled. Now let's see. You can see that last index is there, but I have added this push method, right? Push method, I'm from the push method. So that is removed. If I comment this out, by default, the last index is going to be the element, correct? I'm going to pop it. You can see correctly that last index is gone and the last element is false. So in order to not confuse you, let me remove this. And now we should see that 0.01 is removed, right? False, correct? Okay, now what we have for the other side, we have something called a shift, right? To remove element from the beginning of the array. So remove element from the beginning of the array, correct? Okay, cool. So what do we have? We have something called array.shift. Array.shift is going to remove element from the beginning. Okay, example, we have added something to the beginning, that is 0th index I am from the unshift method, so that should be removed and we should get our proper array, which is 1 2 3 4 and so on and so forth. Let's see 1 2 3 4, whatever has been added has been removed. So if I comment this out, pause the video and let me know what will be the resultant array. I hope you have done that. It is going to be 2 3 4, right? Because I have removed something that is in the 0th index or at the beginning of the array. So those are 4 important methods. That is arr.push, array.push, array.unshift, array.pop, array.shift. So push is going to add element to the end of the array. Unshift is going to add element on the 0th index. Pop is going to remove the element from the last. Shift is going to remove the element from the first. Okay, so let's talk about arr.pop and shift. Okay, I'll give you one example. I'm going to do const value and let me do console.log of value. What are you going to see in the console is very important. You see 0.01. Okay, what just happened? Now I told you that arr.pop is going to remove the last element from an existing array, right? If you console the value, you can see that this arr.pop actually returns the last value. Okay, it returns the last value so that you can keep a track of it. Whereas arr.push doesn't give you any value, it's going to push the value. But popped value will be given to you. You can directly do console.log arr.pop. But you keep in mind that pop and shift are going to give you the methods. Those are there. So let me do value and remove this. So in this instance, you can see that 1 is returned to us because 1 is removed from the first, right? Okay, so I think these are very clear, that the 4 methods we spoke about: push, pop, shift and unshift. So push and pop together at the end of the array does the operation on the last part. Shift and unshift always at the 0th index. Okay, let's go into some of the array methods, advanced array methods, which you will definitely be using. One such is indexOf. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to find out the index of this 2. Okay, so what is the method that I have? So const index, I'm going to store the index. I'm going to do arr.indexOf. Okay, I know the element, but I don't know the index. So I'll do indexOf 2, as I said, sorry. And in the next step, I'll just do console.log of index. And also I'll do console.log of arr, and I'm going to write arr. Let's see. So I have the index and arr ey. Okay, Let's go back and you can see that index is 1. Okay, element 2 is on the first index. You can see that 1 is returned to us. Okay, now what if I have 2 again, right? In this scenario, you might think, what is the index that it's going to return us, right? So let's see what it returns. It still returns the first index, that is the first occurrence. So keep that in mind, that it is always going to give you the first occurrence of your number that exists, number or string or whatever it is that comes in your array. Okay, now there is one more method called last indexOf. Okay, it is going to see the last occurrence when it has occurred. So in this array we have 1, 2, 2, right? So we are searching 2, which is in the first index as well as the second index. But what is the last index of that 2? So it's 0, 1, 2, second, right? So it's going to give me 2, right? First index, this is the second index. So that is about first and last index. I hope you will remember that. Okay, what are some more methods that we have? Something called as includes. Okay, so this returns a boolean. I'm going to say is included. This is a camel case way of writing. We have already discussed this. ARR dot includes of something. Okay, I want to search whether dev space does is present. So whatever I have in my array is dev does, right? Dev without a space does. But I'm searching for dev does, dev space does. So I'll just do console log and I'm going to say is included. So in this condition, it tries to see whether my array, which is this array, includes dev space does. Or let me do doses if you're confused. Okay. So what is going to be the answer? It's going to return a boolean. This one, it is false because I don't have dev space doses. I have dev dose without a space, right? And if I do, this is going to give me true. And if I want something like ABC and I can do ABC, it is going to give me true because ABC is present. And what if I remove one of them, AB is not present, sorry. Yeah, AB is going to give me false because it's not present in my array. Okay, we saw something which is AR.includes, which actually tells us includes, but at the same time, it's also important to know how we can iterate through an array, right? So one good use case is I want to create a copy of this array. Okay, so how will I do it? In the beginning, if you remember, I had told you that there are different ways of declaring an array, and this is one of the ways. The second way is you can actually do by using array, right? What do I mean by that? New function and array, right? So this is also a method that is going to actually declare an array. So what will this new array have? Let me just see. Just console. And you can see that it is empty because there is nothing right now in this array. It is just an array that we have created. This is the easiest syntax, but there is no harm in using this syntax as well. But here it gives you an option of flexibility to not write an extra piece of code, straight away write it in between the brackets. Okay, so I've created an array. This is the second method, right? And the challenge is I want to copy the element which is there in ARR, this new array, right? So how can we actually do that? So one such way, the easiest way, that the first thing that comes in the mind is I know the indexes. So I am going to do something like a new array of 1 is equal to ARR of 1. So what is going to happen over here? ARR of 1, we will be doing it from right to left, right, always in the programming. So ARR of 1 is going to be 2. Okay, 2 I have stored in the first place. That is the first index. So before that, I definitely had to do new array of 0 and new array, sorry, ARR of 0. And now you can see that 0th index is copied in the 0th index of new array. First index is copied in the first index. So let's actually see this in action, and I have it for you. Okay, you can see that array, this is our array, which initially we populated with some gibberish, and we have this new array which I just created using index, right? So if you can see properly, there is a pattern that is ARR of 0, 0, 1, 1. I'm trying to do something with respect to indexes. So don't you think we can definitely use a for loop? So for, right, let I is equal to 0, you can use whatever you want. So it's a 0th index, and I less than, we have a new method called arr.length. Okay, for those of you who don't know, need not worry, I'll just show what that is. Earlier I discussed the length as 8, right? Because the length is nothing but the number of elements that are present in our array. This is definitely going to give us the length. So I just do arr.length, so it will give me 10. Okay, because there are 10 elements in our array right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So instead of manually doing the calculation, I will just use ar.length, which is a valid method to understand how many elements are there. And yeah, so I less than ar.length and I plus plus. So if you haven't watched for loops or loops in general, you can see the previous video. I've explained loops, do while, everything in greater details. So I'm going to just console.log of I as of now for your understanding. Now what is going to happen? I is going to be initially be initialized to 0, and then I less than arr.length, we already saw it is 10, and I plus plus. So for loop, just to give you an example, that every iteration takes a value of I based on this part, right? So I should definitely be having a value which is 0, 1, 2, 3, and 9. We'll talk about why we have 9, but I hope you got what it is. Now you can see that I becomes 0 initially, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, and each iteration I'm going to increase I is equal to I plus 1, post decrement I plus plus, post increment, sorry, I plus plus, this is a way to write. So what is going to happen when it becomes 8? 8 is less than 10, so it's going to print 8. 9 is also less than 10, it's going to print 9, but 10 is not less than 10. 10 is equal to 10. So if I write 10 less than or equal to, you can definitely see 10 too, but I don't want to do it. Why? Because my array starts from the 0th index, and if my length is 10, it's going to end at index number 9, right? So I'm just going to shift over here, okay? And just what I have to do is just replace this 0 with I, right? So in the 0th iteration, that is the first iteration, which technically I meant by 0th index iteration. 0th element is going to be stored in the new array of 0, and first iteration, first element will be stored, second element will be stored, and so on and so forth. So you can see that my array and new array should look alike, right? So this is our new array, and this is my array, right? I think the other way around. Yeah, the first one is array and the second one is new array, but the gist is we definitely copied it without writing so many lines of code. We just used a for loop. You can also do this using a while loop. You can try that out as well. Okay, so we spoke about a couple of methods. We spoke about last indexOf, push, unshift, pop. We also spoke about shift, right? And array iteration. We also spoke about includes. Hope these things are clear. Next, we will learn more about different methods. Those are going to be very much useful when you learn React or work with it. So yeah, so let's learn that. I'm back after some cleanup. We saw about some of the array methods which we will be using almost all the times, but there are few more array elements which are quite important. So I'll be talking about that one by one. Okay, so first method, a very easy method and something that is of great use. It's called as the reverse method. Okay, so let's call it reverse, and don't worry about this. These are just created so that I can save some time and not type again. So these are for the examples. Okay, let's see this ARR, which is our main array, right? Okay, then I have the number array, which is just numbers. I have str array, which is string, which I have objEx, which stands for object example. I have 2 elements, that's it. And numArray with some random numbers is going to help us a lot. So reverse is nothing but, as the name suggests, it's going to be reverse, right? I can do reverse. I can just call the function again. It's not going to return me anything. I am just going to write ARR. So if you see the console, I have everything reversed, right? ABC is on the first, then 0.01, and the last element is going to be 1. Straightforward, very simple. So next we'll learn about an important method called sort, which is going to help you sort the numbers or the alphabet. So let's see how this sort works, right? A detailed video on sort will be there. I mean, I have planned it because sort is something which is very important, and we will deep dive into how sorting works. So as of now, I'll just tell you how we can sort it. So there are 2 types, right? Ascending, that is the lower value to higher value, and the opposite is descending. And the 2 values mostly we sort out. One is the string and other one is the number. Number is straightforward, but string is going to be alphabetical, right? So example number dot sort. Okay. So I have manipulated the array. You can see that things have changed, right? So it is going to be 0, 3, 5, 56, 56, and this is not ascending. By the look of it, we know that it is not ascending order, right? It hasn't been sorted, and the reason is it considers only the unit place. So you can see that 0, 3, 5, 5, 5, 6, and then 8, right? So there must be something more to this, right? That is wherein our parameters come into picture. Let's see how it works. So usually we take 2 parameters and we name it A and B. You can name it whatever you want. We just want 2 parameters, right? So, and we will have A minus B, correct? Now what is going to happen is that, like the helper told us that so the first argument is less than the second argument, it is going to return a negative number, right? So here 556 minus 56 is a positive number, so it is swapped, right? So that is the reason we have a positive, we have a lower value to a higher value, right? 0, 3, 6, 8, 56, 67, 561. So if you want this in descending order, we just have to do B minus A, right? Here B minus A, and you can definitely see that the things have gone from the larger value to the lower value or the least value. So that is how sorting works. And are arrays the only ones we can sort? Definitely not. We can also sort objects. Let's see how we can sort that. Okay, so obj example objex dot sort a comma b, b minus a. Okay, and I'm going to write this. Now one important thing that you have to see, that things will definitely not change over here, because here a is the first object, not the number, because earlier we had arrays. So a is the first object, b is the second object, right? So we should definitely tell that I want to sort based on something, right? So a dot id minus b dot id. Now it makes sense that the first element is going to be 2, right? Because it gives positive, right? 23 minus 2. So it is swapped. So we have 2, and then we have b dot id, which is the second, 23. So I hope this is very clear. Definitely we'll have a better video for sorting, because it is something that we need to decode and dive into, because we will also be learning about sorting algorithms. So I found out that it is going to be easier for me to explain and for you also to understand more about sorting. So as of now, I hope it is very clear that we will have 2 parameters that takes the values. If it is a positive one, when we subtract, it is going to be swapped. If it is 0, that means the elements are same, no swapping. If it's a negative number, again there is a swap, and we will learn more. But I hope this sorting makes a lot of sense to you. So yeah, that is it about sorting and the reverse. So the next method that we are going to learn is for each, right? What is for each? We will learn about it, and then we want to see the map function, which is widely used. And we'll also learn about the difference. The difference as of now that you should know is no new array created, right? And this is going to be it will always return new array. new array, right? Very important to notice. For each we usually use if we want to do some kind of manipulation. For example, let's do this num array for each, right? So I will do, okay, not here, right? I will do num array dot for each, and this gives me two things. One is the current value, which I will call num, which I will of course console it, and index, right? Index is, we already know, it's going to start from 0 for 1, right? Each element will have, it starts from 0 and +1 and so on and so forth. So I'm going to console.log num and index, right? And you can see something is going on over here, and that is because I did not spell num correctly. You can see that number 1 is 0th index, number 2 is first index, and number 3 is second index, and something like that. What I want to do is I want to return, of course our function should return, right? So I want to do num times 2. And let's see what is the resultant that we will have for num arr. Is it going to change? It hasn't changed. So what is the use case? We have seen that there's nothing that is manipulated, but we have the num into 2 and our index is done or something like that. Now, like I said, for each does not give us a new array. It also doesn't manipulate the existing array. Does not, very important to notice, does not manipulate or mutate the array. That would be the right word. Let me just do this, right? And now what is going to happen is this doesn't make sense even if I do num into 2, because it is just a value that I'm going to do. The use case of this is, let's say you have a new array, right? Just like we discussed, and you're going to do something with it. One such use case, let's see, that I want an array which will have multiples of num array. So for example, I have an array, right? I want 2, 1 into 2, 2, 2 times 2, 4, 3 times 2 is 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, so on and so forth. So how we can do that? Let's create an array, const double array, double arr, and it is going to be empty. Okay, you can also write new array, doesn't matter, but I'm going to keep it empty. And biggest mistake, don't use const, because I'm going to manipulate that array inside this, right? What I'm going to do, I'm going to say that double array dot push. We already learned this, right? And it's going to be 2 times num, num times 2 doesn't matter. That's it, right? I don't need this. This is the use case. And now I will definitely do the double arr. You can see that we have the resultant array. Okay, so that is the difference. So for each is going to be no new array, it does not return a new array, does not mutate the existing array. Existing array would be the right word, if I can spell that correctly. So existing array, it is something to do with the values. So in this use case, I created a new array and I pushed the value, but definitely you can console, you can just write an if statement or something like that. Index is also visible, as I said. So in this case, let's say that I just don't want these two elements, right? The element which is at index 0, 1, 2 and 3, I don't want that, which is at index 2 or 3. Rest everything I want to push. Okay, if you want to try it, you can definitely pause it and try it. We'll get back to it. So as I said, if my index is going to be 2, or we learned about this, index is 3, I'm going to return, I'm not going to push anything, right? So definitely we have seen that 6 and 8 is missing, and we have 10, 12, 14 and 16, right? Because whenever the index becomes 2 or index becomes 3, it's just returning out without doing anything, and that is it. Okay, so next we will be learning about the map function. So what is map? It's something similar to for each, but it actually returns a new array, right? It's very important to know that it will return a new array, and that array can be used for anything, right? So the use case will still be the same. the syntax will still be the same. But very important to know that if I use example num, or I can use the same num array, I think, but this time I'll multiply it by 3, num array dot map, and then I'll have two things. One is a num and index. You can name this whatever you want. I'll name this I just to show you, and I'm going to say that return num times 3. Num times 3. Return is very important. We'll talk about this in a second. I have to tell you something. Return num times 3, right? So this is not needed, and you can see that nothing is happening. Double array is not defined. Okay, I'll comment this out or delete this. No, let me just comment this out as of now. Okay, you can see nothing is happening. I told you it will always return a new array, so you should have something that will capture the value times 3, right? That is numArray.map, and I'm going to console that times 3, right? So we'll definitely have 3, 6, 9, 12, so on and so forth, which is the 3 times of each and every value. Here the num takes a value of 1 in the first iteration, 2 in the second iteration, 3 in the third next iteration, 4, and so on and so forth. You can definitely do this using for loop, but this is more cleaner approach, right? And one more thing, since you have only one return statement or one single line, that is line number 29, you can actually ignore this and you can just do num times 3. This will still work, right? You need not have, we have already spoken this during the function, wherein if we don't have multiple lines and a single operation, the cleaner way is to write the operation itself without using the return or the curly braces. I hope things are clear between map and for each. So for each is used for some kind of manipulation. It does not return a new array. It does not mutate the already existing array. What about map? Does it mutate already existing array? It does not. It does not even touch the already existing array with respect to that. It is just going to return the same thing. But one crucial thing is you will have times 3, which is a new array. So every time new array will be created. And also one more important thing to notice is your operation is quite less with respect to num array. It's already taken care inside, right? If I have to do 3 times or double array in this condition, I had to do double array dot push, right? I had to declare an array. I have to use push and things like that. This is much cleaner way to handle it, and this is quite often used in React in different operation when you have to return a JSX on the screen, right? Or HTML on the screen as of now, for the understanding what we have. So that is about num array. That is about for each and map. So yeah, I think I can go to the next one, which is the filter method. Very important method, right? Filter. Okay, so filter, just try to understand this. I'll remove the console as of now. The filter method returns element inside the array only if it is true. Okay, if that didn't make sense, I'll repeat once again, then we'll see the example so that it's much clearer. So if it is true, the element will go inside the array, right? If some condition is true, then only the element will be pushed inside the array, right? One example is very simple. I can say, using this example num, see this, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So this example num has some elements greater than 500. I want an array which is greater than 500. So can I use filter in this case? A best example is to use filter, right? So syntax is much similar. We will take our array which is example num and dot filter, and again this gives us 2 things. One is the element. Okay, I'll call this ELE just for a change, or I can call this current element, right? It takes in the current value always, and then it's going to be the index, second one. Since I won't be using index, I can skip it, right? Even the earlier use case, I did not use I could have skipped it. What I'm going to do right now is I am going to say that only give me element which is greater than 500. Rest you can ignore. Again, return is quite important. Or if I'm not using return, if it is a single line, single piece of code, I can just write curr greater than 500, and you can see that if I console.log, and also one important thing which I missed, it returns a new array. Returns a new array, and I have const filtered arr, and this is going to be filtered. If you haven't understand, just look at it once again. I'm going to explain once again, right? So you can see that greater than 500 were just two, that is 561 and 556. Very important. These are the ones that are quite used for some kind of conditions. So the condition here was current number, that is each iterated number should be greater than 500. So it's going to come over here and check it is greater than 500. Yes, push it to the array. 56, push it into the array. 56 is less than 500, push it. Don't push it, and so on and so forth. Now, very important thing that has to be noticed is the code is much cleaner, right? I could have used for each method for this, and I could have checked if my num is greater than 500 and pushed it. But again, this is doing most of the heavy lifting for us, and it's going to help us a lot. Also, you can see that the size of the array has reduced down to 2 because only 2 elements satisfy the condition. Now, what if I do just write elements less than 500? We would have the rest of the elements, right? This satisfies the condition. This returns true, right? If 556 less than 500, it returns false, so it's not in the array. It's not pushed, right? We have just returned, right? That's the same thing which we did num array, but a lot of things we did not create an array. Just do it over here, and everything will be done for us. So that is one of the most important things. Now, some of you might have a question: what is the difference between filter, array, and what is the difference between filter and map? So is it possible to do the same thing with the help of map? It is possible. Now let's say that I'm going to use my example num array, and I'm going to set this up to greater than 500, and here also I'll be setting up greater than something which is 500, right? I have used num. You can use whatever you want. Now you can see the difference. I will have here filtered in the string, and similarly I will have, let's change this. Okay, so it's like mapped arr, and this is going to be mapped arr, and you can already see the answer on the left hand side. I'll tell you why it is like that. Mapped. Okay, so you can definitely see that the value whatever this has written is true or false, right? Because this returns the condition, right? Num is greater than 500, 556 is greater than 500, so it is true, right? It gave me an array of boolean, right? You can clearly see the difference. Like I said, when I'm explaining that it is going to push the element, that is push the value which satisfies the condition, and ignore the rest of the elements which does not satisfy the condition, right? So I hope this is very clear, and at any time, one of the most important thing that most of the people don't know, and it will be definitely asked in the interview, that it is not possible to cut down the size when you're using map. Okay, what do I mean by that? Just understand that I'm going to check. Just give me a second. I'm going to do this. I'm going to say if num is greater than 500, return num, right? So this is a valid condition, correct? So I think I messed up something. We need to have this, right? So you can definitely see that it is at any time it is not possible to cut down the length, right? This only gives us the number which passes the condition. That is why only 2 values. Here you can definitely see that if num is greater than 500, I return num. That is returned. Great. I have returned num. But what about the rest of the value, right? Technically it shouldn't have, but it returns something. I can do else not needed, but return 0, right? It actually does that. So using map you get more control, but for the use case that we have, give us the values which are greater than 500, filter is more than enough. Next we will learn about something called as reduce. Quite difficult to understand in the first shot in my opinion, but it is quite simple. We can do whatever we want with that. Okay, so filter, I'm going to write down first what we have in the filter. So let's say we want to find out the average of this or sum of this. Let's talk about average later. We want to find the sum of this element. So one such way that we can use a for loop. We can have a sum variable which is 0. We can do all sorts of stuff, but reduce gives us the use case flexibility, right? For example, I'm going to take that okay, let's do this. So let's do const value, and then it's going to be example num dot reduce. So reduce is going to give you a single value always, right? And this will have two values. One is the accumulator, other one is the current. What is accumulator? That is after each iteration, what is the accumulated value that you're going to have. But initially I wanted 0, so I'm giving it 0. So you can see that array dot reduce, two values. You can call this whatever you want. I like to call this ACC, accumulator, and current is nothing but the each value during the iteration. This is the initial value of the accumulator. So I am going to give, okay, let's see, const, let's say my accumulator, right? Accumulator is the end value that I'm going to get. Accumulator plus is equal to current. Okay, I'm doing console.log. Okay, reduce, or in this case sum, right? So it is going to be the value that is going to be given. It is showing as undefined because I did not return the value. Always it's important to return the value, and we have 1257. It will be true, I believe. So what does reduce method do? As I said, it is going to give us the value of the operation, right? So in this case, what I did is, this is just like writing, I can also write this, right? I can also write this ACC is equal to ACC plus the current value, and at the end of the iteration I can definitely give the accumulator back. It's going to give me the same value, which is 1257. So in total we learned about a lot of methods. Starting previously we learned about push, pop, shift, unshift, and some other. So some of the most important methods that we learned here are reverse sort, for each, map, filter, and reduce. So that's it for this video. This was completely on arrays. So next we will see something different. I think it will be on string.